They didn't bury her because she was dead. They buried her to keep an empire alive. In the 16th century, in the royal city of Idah, a princess stood at the edge of a pit and looked into the earth that would swallow her. She was not a criminal. She was the king's most beloved daughter, and she had volunteered. Long before the British came, the Igala Kingdom ruled the confluence of the great Niger and Benue rivers. At its heart sat the Attah, the king, Ayegba Oma Idoko. He was a warrior, but his greatest pride was his daughter, Inikpi. But peace is a fragile thing. To the southwest, the Benin Empire was rising. Their warriors wore bronze chest pieces that blazed like second suns, and their army outnumbered the Igala 5-1. As the smoke of burning villages reached the palace, the king fell to his knees. In open battle, there was no victory. When kings exhaust their strategies, they turn to the ancestors. In a shrine thick with ancient dust, the oracle spoke a price that turned the king's blood to ice. "The land demands a blood debt," the priest whispered. "Not the blood of a goat, not the blood of 1,000 slaves. The land demands your most precious possession. Inikpi must be returned to the earth." For 7 days, the king refused. He stopped eating. He paced his chambers like a caged beast, staring at the ceiling as if waiting for the world to end. But a palace has no secrets. Inikpi had seen the fear in her people's eyes. She walked into her father's chamber and took his scarred warrior's hand in her own. "Father," she said, "a princess is not born for luxury. She is born for her people. My blood belongs to this soil." The king, who had never moved for any enemy, began to weep. But as the sun rose over the Niger, he let her go. The day of the ritual arrived, and the sky refused to turn blue. Inikpi dressed in her full royal regalia, heavy coral beads and skin rubbed with deep red camwood. She walked through the silent, weeping crowds with her head held high. As she descended into the red earth, she didn't scream. She began to sing. It was a lullaby her father had sung to her as a child. Even as the first shovel of soil fell, the song continued, until the earth was silent. 3 days later, the Benin army arrived. But as their commanders looked down into the valley, they stopped in terror. Idah appeared to be engulfed in a massive, supernatural inferno. A roaring wall of fire stretched for miles. Believing the gods had already destroyed the city, the army turned and fled. But there was no fire. It was a divine illusion, the ghost fire, cast by the spirit of the princess. Today, a bronze statue of Inikpi stands in Idah. She is the Omelebele, the one who stood when all others knelt. Comment Inikpi if you believe her name should never be forgotten. Subscribe to Afro Empire of Legends. The history they tried to bury is finally coming home.